Good evening. We're headed towards 8 o'clock East Coast time, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank you for taking this time with us. I think you'll find it valuable. I am Pat Haid. I am the founder of High School Social Media. And as a company, we do two things. First, we do a lot of social media education, mainly with middle and high school aged kids, coaches, educators, and parents. And the second part, which is valuable for what we're doing, is we're a digital marketing company. So my team works specifically with social media. And we see hundreds of thousands, literally, of posts, tweets, pictures, videos, snaps every month from kids, because we work with youth organizations and companies and educational entities. So we have the advantage of seeing what's out there, of what the kids are actually putting out there, of collecting it, of having some time to analyze it. And we also have the advantage of having to keep up with social media, which changes daily. And with Facebook and Instagram in the last 2 weeks, it has changed hourly. So, housekeeping. I seldom do webinars that are not one kind of topic that flows. And we're actually doing this in 4 separate segments, because there are 4 separate things that I think are very important for everybody to get a handle on. If you would type your questions into the comments as you think of them, at the end, I'll go back and answer them all. But if you're like me, you kind of lose that question as other things come up. And we'll be happy to stay as long as there are questions to answer. The other thing I have to tell you, if you follow our Twitter feed, is yesterday when we were giving this, my dog, who comes to the office with me, and I'm actually at home right now doing this, but she's also here tonight and occasionally feels the necessity to chime in with an opinion. So if you hear barking in the background, that's her. A little bit of background. When we work with education with the kids in social media, we divide them into 2 groups. There is a very distinct difference in usage, and again, vast generalizations, but it's a general distinction between the 13 to 15-year-old group, which we're going to call younger teens tonight, and the 15 to 19-year-old group. There are also gender differences. As much as I hate to say this, there are very distinct gender differences. With males from 13 on, we're going to see more sexually explicit posts and tweets. They're going to be the people who retweet or share things that are going to be considered inappropriate. Females are going to be more personally vicious, and that tends to go from about 13 to maybe 16. And then you see it start to go away. The differences in young teens are striking. So in the younger set on social, girls are going to open themselves up to criticism. They'll do things like post a picture and say, "Do you like this color on me?" Which just opens them up to a ton of people saying, "No, I don't." And then their feelings are hurt, and then we start the whole back and forth. Boys are more likely to be combative in their text and their posts. So keep those in mind. Now, the first module, we call it the comparison game. It is most common in the younger teens. And there's a reason for that, because genetically, we're all disposed to be part of a tribe, right? We had to have our tribe or our group in order to survive. And they are trying to not only find their tribe, but to find their place in their tribe. Now, their tribe, unlike previous generations, exists not only in their physical geographic world, but also in the virtual world. So they may have a virtual tribe that primarily consists of people they know in the physical world, or they may have a virtual tribe that has very few intersections with the tribe they know in the physical world. And what happens is this mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all syndrome. So what we see with the younger teens is the kids will take literally hundreds of pictures, and then they'll go through them painstakingly and choose one to post. In the first 10 minutes or so, when they post it, and the magic number is 20 minutes, they'll monitor the number of likes, what people are saying. That becomes a validation of how they fit into this tribe, of how well they have judged what other people in their group, their virtual group, are going to like and react positively to. It becomes, in a sense, a validation of their popularity. That's not a bad experiment, okay? And it's a little bit obsessive, but it's a phase. Now, what happens, though, is for a lot of kids, and it's not the kid who has no self-esteem or the kid who's not part of a team, it's a lot of kids. Once they post something, because they're going for these number of likes in these comments, they'll text their friends and tell them they posted. They'll rely on notifications to everyone they know. Some teens buy likes, which are fairly cheap. You can buy 1,000 likes for like $3. So they'll do all of this to up their standing. Now, that's artificial. Okay, we know that as adults. They don't when they're young teens. We get concerned about it because it can lead fast to them thinking, I'm not good enough. And here's what happens, and this is very curious, because they know they are very carefully editing their own lives. They know that they are so carefully structuring what they put out there for other people to judge them on. They don't apply that to other kids. You can talk to them and they honestly believe that what they're seeing in somebody's Instagram feed or what they're seeing in somebody's Snap stories are actually a real representation of that person's life. So the trick is, as they're going through this, to get them to start to see that everybody else is doing exactly what they're doing. That this is not a real life. That this is the Hollywood edited version of life. And that you can't measure yourself against it. This becomes for us very important when kids are on teams and may not be the best on the team, or with young teens where there are these tremendous growth differentials. When they're seeing other people get all these accolades for their sports on their social media, and they're not, it is very important that they know and are continually reminded that this is a process. And the kid who is considered fantastic when they're 14 may or may not be fantastic when they're 17. That it is within their control to work and to learn and to get better. It is not a valid measurement at that age. And of course, athletes are competitive by nature, so you have to really work on that one. We're especially concerned with girls during this stage, with them continuing in sports. Mainly because, hey, let's face it, you've played 2 hours in the mud and the rain. Your Instagram picture isn't looking great. It's not going to be the same as somebody who spent those 2 hours with makeup and hair and lighting. And they do makeup, hair, and lighting for these pictures. So we want to mitigate that. We want to make sure that they know that, hey, you're showing real life. And that becomes important for your future, as opposed to the thousands of people you're seeing who are fussing with hair, makeup, and wardrobe and lighting. Most of them are probably not going to go on to be models or actresses. The next consideration, it's a big one at that age, is focus. So we know that despite all the horrible stories in a lot of papers, very good papers, who kept saying, you know, social media is ruining our attention span, there is no evidence of that. The study that they all base that on actually does not say that. There is no evidence that our attention spans are changing because of social media. There is evidence that the kids are having more trouble focusing. And the reason for that is because they multitask. Kids will open their phones on an average of 100 times a day. Now, I want you to think about that. They will look at text messages or social media 100 times a day. That means they're multitasking, because nobody has the time in their life to open their phone and concentrate on it 100 times a day. And they're multitasking because they want to see what feedback it was from their posts. They want to see what my friends have put up. It's a very immediate, I got to keep up with it thing. Those 100 times they're opening their phone dissipates focus. And we know that young teens have enough trouble focusing. So what we want to do is help them cope with this comparison game stage. And it is a stage. The majority of the kids are going to transition out of it. They're going to start having a purpose for their social. You know, if they want 1,000 likes on something, it's because it's a great picture of their team and they want it out there in the community. Or because they made a fantastic play and they want that video to be seen by college coaches or people with relationships to college coaches. So it's a phase. They will, on the whole, you know, you have some people who are still doing that as parents, but on the whole, they'll grow out of it. In the meantime, what we can do is make sure they understand how social media platforms work. Because platforms have these incredibly complex formulas that determine who is going to see a particular post. And let's just take Instagram. If you put a post out on Instagram and you have 15,000 followers, only 1,200 of those followers may see that post in their feed. Well, if only 1,200 people see it in their feed, only 1,200 people have the ability to like it or to comment on it. So the whole idea that, what you put out and how many likes and comments you get is an indication of how many people actually like that post is false. It's an indication of how many people actually saw that post and then liked it. If they can understand that, they move out of this phase faster. The second thing we can do, make practices a cell-free time. So, not on the water break, go run, check your phone. Okay, no phones unless there is a specific reason. There's something going on in the family, a friend is ill, where they have to check and feel better being updated. Other than that, give them that break. Let them focus on something without wondering what friend posted what. The third thing we can do is be mindful ourselves of including everyone when we're posting pictures or videos of our team. And I don't mean including everyone in one post or including everybody in what you put up that day. But over the course of a week, you make sure that every kid on that team has seen a picture where they're in it. The reason that's so important is because there's this exclusion issue. So it used to be that if a kid was not invited to a party, if a kid's friends went to do something and they weren't told about it for whatever reason, they'd kind of hear about it, but it wasn't in their face. Today, they will see that party starting the minute it starts because there will be social media posts about it from the party itself. A lot of the kids will experience that because not everybody is going to go to everything. And we're seeing a lot of I feel left out, which, as we all know, in that 13, 14-year-old age group, is a major trauma for them. Don't leave them out of their team because that's another tribe. Now, on the accounts that we run, we actually keep lists. We keep roster lists. And if by Thursday there are one or two kids whose pictures haven't been up there, then the job that day is get a picture of them. They don't have to be by themselves. They can be with a group, but get a picture of them. And then the fourth thing that I beg you to do, especially with females, is show them lots of examples of athletes who are posting workouts where they don't look perfect, they don't look great, excuse me, they're sweaty, they're muddy. And I'll tell you, the women's national soccer team is great for that. They are so good at putting out actual work photos, not posed photos. So that's something that you can draw from. And onward. Now we're going to talk about fake accounts. Finsta accounts happen to be fake Instagram accounts. So any fake account, what the kids know to do is they'll put either no profile picture or a different person's profile picture. Putting a different person's profile picture can be a real problem. Number one, it leads you into being charged with identity theft, even though the kids are doing this very innocently. Number two, most of the time they don't know the person. So heaven only knows what that person is actually doing that you're going to get tagged for later on. So fake accounts, they need to put up either a picture of a scene or nothing at all, not another person's profile picture. They won't have biographical information in it because biographical information is available to the public, even on private accounts. They'll have a username that you can't trace, they think, back to the kid. And essentially what they've created is you have to have my permission to enter this world realm in their social media. Normal teenage behavior, right? It gives them control. And on the whole, there's not a lot wrong with fake accounts. What is wrong with them is that when a kid interacts with another group of kids that maybe their parents aren't pleased with, or, aren't their normal crowd in the real world, in the physical world, most people aren't going to know about that. In the digital world, most people will know about that. So it actually takes away a level of privacy for them. And the other thing that I particularly worry about is they believe that in a fake account, their information is secure. What they put up there can only be seen by the people who they've invited in, and it's forever going to stay just in their little account. We know that's wrong. So there have been a couple of excellent long-term studies in the digital world. The best by the Internet Watch Foundation, funded by Microsoft. Thank you, Microsoft. Which have showed that things put up in private accounts get out there. And they get out there to the tune of about 80% of them show up on at least one other website or one other account. That's a lot. So you worry about that with what are the kids posting that they don't realize somebody has taken a screenshot of and is going to come back in 5 years to haunt them. What did the kid post when they were 14, which is out there, which we're going to find when we're vetting you for a college coach. They get this sense of security, which is not real. And very often, all you have to do to find a hidden account is do an image search. Because you do an image search, you come up with images that are not at all in keeping with the public account. And the first thing you say to the kid is, okay, give me access to your hidden account. For parents and guardians, and I don't know whether people should do this. In my office, we're back and forth on this. But certainly if you have an at-risk kid, you can find a hidden account by not telling your kid you want their cell phone and just saying, okay, give it to me right now, because you don't want them to have time to shut down, to log out of their hidden accounts. You open the Instagram app, tap on the profile on the bottom, tap on the username on the top. You're going to get a drop down, and you're going to see the other accounts they have open. They will normally always have their hidden account open. Now, the other thing that is, I think, very legitimate to do for a lot of reasons is every kid should have a Facebook account from the time they're 13 on. And the reason I say that is because it's a free personal website for them. So from the time they hit 8th grade, you just drop into that Facebook page the videos, the awards, the community days, babysitting their little sister. And then when they get to be juniors in high school, and we're looking for a visual resume, you go through their Facebook page with them. You rearrange their videos. You can highlight videos on Facebook. You can go through the posts. You can rearrange them also. You can backdate posts differently. And fill in the about section. You have a total kid resume in visual form with all the backup data. What it also gives you the ability to do on their Facebook page is you go to facial recognition, and it should always be off. Okay, that should be off as the default. Turn it on. You're going to see all the photos of them that the artificial intelligence of Facebook has found across Instagram and Facebook. And when you start seeing a lot of pictures of them that you're not seeing in their Instagram account, that's because they're in a hidden account. Okay. Okay. I'm going to start talking really fast because I'm keeping you too long. So let's talk about putting social in its place. Now, first of all, social media is such a powerful tool for them. Once they get through the comparison stage, it gives them access to this world of people that have similar interests. And just think about it this way. For example, if your kid is a lacrosse goalie, there may be 3 lacrosse goalies in your school. The other lacrosse goalies in their geographic area are kids they play against. So they're not going to trade secrets with them. But there are hundreds of thousands of lacrosse goalies across the United States. And we have seen groups or tweet chats or snap groups form of kids who have particular positions in sports, be it a diver or a soccer goalie or a quarterback, where they don't have access to a lot of other kids in their geographic area who have the same concerns. And it's wonderful for them. Same thing with the academic part of it. If you happen to have a kid who is fascinated with NASA and wants to work in that area, well, there may be 3 kids in the school who feel the same way. But there are tons of kids out there who do. It's also a validation for them in a lot of ways, where you will see kids jump on when a kid goes out and posts something or tweets something that they're discouraged. You'll see all kinds of other kids jump on and start to encourage them. You'll see older kids, college kids, jump on and start to encourage them. And as you know, a lot of times we can say the same thing to a kid 7 million times, but let the college football player who's now a sophomore say it to them, and it carries more weight. It also gives them such a sense of new people, new places. It really expands their worldview. And most importantly, I think, it keeps them in touch with friends. So we're such a mobile society. We don't stay in one place very long. A lot of times kids change schools because of academic advantages or athletic advantages. They can stay in touch with their core group, the people who really know them and care about them, on an hourly basis if they need to. That's a tremendous advantage they have that other generations didn't. It also gives them the power to organize. Now, it doesn't matter whether that's a group who likes the same game or whether they're organizing against gun violence, or often what we see, and this is truly often, and I'm so proud of them for this, we'll open up our DMs in the morning and there'll be a direct message from a kid somewhere in the country where something has happened to one of their teammates, and within 10 hours, they got a GoFundMe page going. They've got the DMs out to feeds like ours saying, can you help us promote this? And they're all in on making it better as much as they can. That gives them a very positive route to deal with bad things. Again, new to these generations. Here's the problem. You got to use social, not let social use you. And if you look at the quote, yes, we've all gone on YouTube just to do one thing. And hours later, we're in the midst of watching, Maui and how volcanoes form. Because we're curious, and there's so many fascinating things out there. But a lot of times we don't have time for that, and the kids certainly don't have time for that. What they need to learn, and we work on social media all day long, I say this with great purpose, they have to have a specific purpose for opening up their social media. It doesn't matter whether that purpose is, I want to check up on my friends. They have to know why they're opening that. Then they have to set a time limit. And we mean that literally. When you open that social media on your phone, also open your timer and set it. Because it's a learned discipline. They can waste so much time kind of musing and commenting, and it's not time that gives them any value back. So after the first, I've checked on all my friends, I've said what I want to do, then they're just wasting time. The other thing we want them to do is every once in a while, over the course of a day, we want them to record the number of times they check their text and their social media. Now, I said the average is 100, which it is. However, we've seen kids open their text messages or social media up to 250 times a day. That's insane. You cannot concentrate on anything under those circumstances, and they don't realize it. So there are apps like Moments on iPhone which will automatically control or count that for you. It's a very good check, maybe every 2 months, to see where they are. And I've talked about focus. We are concerned, obviously, the country is concerned with the proliferation of fake news and, this things that we as adults tend to look at and say, why would anybody believe that? I can tell you why people would believe that. It's because they don't actually read the article. And the kids are in danger of learning to be only headline readers on social media. Again, we have to reinforce that whatever it is, you need to look at the source. You need to look at beyond the headline. And you need to judge that. Is this something that makes any sense? Just because it's out there, just like the comparison game and the edited life, doesn't mean that it's real. So what we tell them, which seems to resonate, is that it's smart to take advantage of social media. It's not smart to let social media take advantage of you. And that becomes kind of our mantra with them. Smart to take advantage of social, not smart to let it take advantage of you. Now, I'm very quickly going to go through things that coaches, educators, and parents need to know, because they're all in the realm of not my kid. My kid is not going to do that. Statistically, kids before they get out of high school are going to sext. It is not the end of the world. They need to know the consequences so they can make choices. Kids are going to be really, really mean to somebody in social at some point. There is a layer of removal where when you know a kid and then you look at what they're saying in social, there are times where that is so far apart. They just don't get the connection that this is really hurting somebody. And it often takes somebody saying to them, you devastated me. How can you be so horrible, before that starts to get through? In the last one, your kid is going to have accounts that you don't know about. I don't care how good you are at social media and digital. I don't care how good you are at knowing what's hidden under calculator apps. They are going to be one step ahead on new technology, and they're going to have accounts you don't know about. What you need to do is make sure that those accounts don't come back when they're vetted, or when they're looking for a job, or when they're trying to get a loan for a car, and bite them. Okay, and I've kept you a little bit longer, with my apologies. So this is my contact information. You can always get a hold of us on DM on Twitter, on DM on Facebook, or you can email me. If you're like me, I'm one of those people that 10 minutes after the webinar is over, I suddenly realize what my questions are. So if you happen to realize what your question is later on, please let us know. We will answer you, and if we don't know the answer, we will find out. Now, let's get to, do we have any questions? Okay. I am not seeing anybody. We're going to wait for just 1 minute and see if anybody has anything they'd like to ask, clarify, and I don't care if it's about this topic. Okay, so either I bored you to death or we were clear. And since my ego demands it, we're going to say we were clear. What I'm going to do is thank you so much for investing your time with us. I really appreciate it. If we can be of any help at any point, oh, Derek, you're welcome. Any help at any point, let us know. Like you, we really believe in kids, and hopefully we can get them through some of these phases. And with that, I'll say good night. Have a strong day tomorrow.